So got the KLR out of the shed. I'm gonna kind of go over what I do every spring and every time I change the oil, which is probably 2-3 times a year. Make sure the bike runs well. The easiest way to make sure your bike runs well is to make sure you change oil on a regular basis. So that's what we're gonna do. So tools wise, most important thing is good old stoolie here, Harbor Freight Special. I love it. I use the 5-in-1 screwdriver from Harbor Freight. When you go to change your oil filter, you'll see that there's 2 little bolts there. You gotta pull them out, and me not being a small guy, I've sheared those off before, and a friend of mine suggested doing this, so it's pretty hand tight, and I've never had any issues with it leaking, so that's just what I do now. I got the filter. That's gonna be an Amazon special. You can get these for like, I think, $6 or $7. So when you change your oil as much as I do, it honestly, the cheap ones are fine. If you go a little bit longer between oil changes, you probably want to get a little bit more expensive brand. I have the low profile plug in the bottom, so I have to have an Allen wrench set out. I don't know the size yet because I forgot what it is from last year, and this is new to me. It's a used Allen wrench set. So KLR takes I think 2.8 quarts, 2.8, maybe 7.5. So you have to have the oil there too. And then I have my canvas, which is plastic lined on one side. So when I put things underneath, I don't get any oil on the ground. So first step up is to get the bike warmed up, get the oil nice and hot so it runs out pretty smoothly, and then we'll go through the process. Alright, so she's been running for about 5 minutes. I'm gonna get set up. Went over these tools right here. Another thing you'll need is obviously an oil pan. And I like having a little funnel around. Try to get some of that runoff that comes off the filter. Make sure it doesn't get all over the ground. I don't like bleeding. So I'm gonna shut her off and we'll get set up. Alright, so as I got set up, it's a 6mm Allen wrench, and I'm gonna try to get here. I have the low profile plug. I don't know if it's gonna focus on that or not. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna wipe that area off clean, make sure that there's no dirt or residue when I start cracking open the oil for it to drain into the pan. And then what I'll do is I'll let that drain. After it's pretty empty, I'm gonna move up here. I'm gonna pull that plate off. And then after that plate's off, I'll pull the filter, and there's a metal tube in there, which you'll see here in just a second, that we'll pull that out, make sure that area is nice and clean, and we'll replace a new filter, and then we'll seal that up again, and then we'll be all ready to ride. Put some oil in there. Righty tighty. Get the Allen wrench off. After you crack it, it's pretty easy to drain out, or to pull out. You'll realize I am not pretty with words, so it's all ready to go out. Strain it out. Still pretty clean from last year. Usually black oil is bad, but I change my oil quite often, so change it in the fall, change it in the spring, and your bike will repay you back forever. I think a lot of that sediment was just on the bottom of the thing, so little air bubbles in there. So I'm gonna get this everything cleaned up and we'll be right back. So there's, hopefully you can see that. This is a magnetic low profile plug from Tusk. And you can see that even with the bike that you take care of, this magnetic tip right here is gonna capture all those little shavings. And that's what you want, because those shavings are gonna murder your oil, your engine, your pistons. It'll screw your performance over. So you wanna make sure that's cleaned off completely as well when you go to put it back on. I take just some paper towel, and I make sure this is super clean. I also clean around the area of the plug. You wanna make sure that you have your washer as well. And then when you tighten it up, you don't have to crank this thing to get tight. Pretty much you get as tight as you need to, and then you just firm it up. I don't have a torque wrench, which if you have a torque wrench, use it, because you can see that I have 2 different color bolts here, and when you don't use a torque wrench, you snap one in half, and you gotta drill that out, and that is not fun on the radar. So but yeah, I want to make sure that you guys see that low profile Tusk plug is definitely worth the investment, especially if you just have the plastic plate on like I do. So I'm still draining out here, starting to get a little less of a trickle. I'll probably cap it off here in just a second, and then I'll move over to the filter. So as this is draining, I'm kind of looking over the bike. We're getting ready for spring. I already noticed a few things I have to fix. You can see the exhaust mount right there. Bolt fell out. KLRs are infamous for vibrating bolts out. So you want to make sure you go over your bike with a fine-tooth comb. I don't know, I do it like once a month usually. So that's got to get replaced. I'll just go to the hardware, see if I can find something to fix that. I always go through, make sure there's no dry rot on the tires. I like to do like 50-50 riding. So these Yankee Wilds, doesn't look like I put much traction on them, but these are 2 years old. So I didn't get as much riding in last year as I want to. This shall be different, but you're looking for any cracks along the tire here. And if it looks good, you should be good to go for another year. So on the other side, I'm not sure if you can see that or not, but that is high time to change my sprockets this year. When they start moving in one direction, you know, you got some wear and tear on them. And these are factory default. They've lasted since 2015, so I'm pretty happy with the wear that they gave me. Make sure I'll hold my chain up today. I'm gonna go for a little ride here in just a little bit. But that's the big noticeables as of right now. All right, so we're down to a few drips. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go around that area. See how there's a bunch of crud built up there? I wanna make sure that's very, very clean for the bolt and the washer. And then once that's done, I'm gonna put the washer on the bolt. Pardon the camera movement here. Put the washer on the bolt, put the bolt up there, make sure I get all those shavings off, and we'll plug her up. All right, we got the bottom plugged. Now it's time to tackle these guys. And this tool, I'm getting the framer here, is a Harbor Freight special, which you know that's not, the quality's not good. You can pick these up pretty much anywhere you want to. But the 5-in-1 tool means that on the big screwdriver, I can pull this out, and I got a bolt driver. That bolt driver fits this perfectly. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take these out here, both of these out, and I'll start filming again when I go to pull the plate off. So first time of the year, you might need a wrench. It's an 8mm wrench to loosen these up. I just don't have the leverage to get off with that screwdriver, so no big deal. All right, so I loosened up, and then from there it's just really easy. Let's take them out. And once again, don't over tighten these. You can see that this bolt is definitely different than this bolt. This one over here, the one screwing, came out of the factory. And they're cheap aluminum. They work, they're cheap aluminum. So we're gonna put those down, clean those up here in a second. I'm gonna move this out here. What's gonna happen, I'm gonna take the plate off. Some oil is gonna drip down onto the plate, and it's gonna drip down to the tub down here. So just be prepared when that happens. Usually it's just by hand. I always try to examine these, look for small shavings, see if there's anything going on. Looks pretty clean from last year, so I'm happy. I'm gonna pull this out. It's still pretty warm from warming up. I want that drain out, but I want to get this metal rod out of here. I'm getting oil all over the place. That's not what I wanted to do. So I'm gonna dump that in there for a second. Made a little bit of a mess. So this rod here, since it was on the ground, I gotta clean it up now, and then I'll get it through the other one, and then I'll clean off the surface of where this isn't a gasket, but I'll clean off the surface right here, so it's a nice tight seal when I put that back on. But pretty much what's gonna happen is I'm gonna put this down, clean it up. I'm gonna put on the other filter, and I'll try to film doing that too. It's kind of hard one-handed, so I appreciate your guys' patience. One thing to keep in mind is this filter is pretty symmetrical. There's a little hair there I gotta get off. So the bad part about having a beard is hair gets everywhere. But it doesn't matter which way this goes in. Both of them are the same. All right, so once again, this right here is symmetrical. It doesn't matter which way this goes into the bike. What has to happen is that you can see on the left-hand side there of that that shaft, it's milled at a lower width. That's got to go inside the bike, so that's got to go facing towards the bike, and then that case will fit over that end right there. Sorry, focus, that end right there. So short end or skinny end is right there. It goes right into the bike, and then you can see it just kind of fits right perfectly in there. And then now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna clean that up and I'll put that back on the plate. The cool thing is this is really easy to line up because there's that little arrow there. It's gonna follow that little arrow there. Make sure those are lined up and it'll be smooth. But I'm gonna wipe everything off again. So when the plate goes back on, pretty much all I'm doing is I'm just trying to match up those two things down there. There's also an up arrow that tells you which one's the top. And so I can't do that with two hands and the camera. So I'm gonna put this on. Then we'll start tightening the bolts. All right, got the whole thing cleaned up. Now I'm gonna put the bolts in. Usually what I do is I snug it up with the bolts. Get that plate on nice and level. Changing the tension between the two when I tighten it up. So I'll get this side a little snug. I'll get this side a little snug. Just kind of walk it down until it's completely closed off. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Just gonna do hand tight. Once again, you don't want to shear that off. So that's nice hand tight. I'll keep an eye on it, obviously, all the time. Now all that's left is to put the oil back in the bike. You're gonna use, I use 4-stroke Valvoline full synthetic. I like synthetic. My dad told me to use synthetic, so I use synthetic. That's why I use Valvoline full synthetic. And I'm not a proponent of anything other than the fact that this was cheap at Walmart. It was synthetic and it's made for bikes. So I'm gonna go ahead and start putting that in. Pretty much what you do is loosen up the cap here, which that might take a little work, but pretty much you loosen that cap there. You're gonna put 2.5 of these in, let it set, and then you're gonna check this window down here, and that window is gonna start showing some oil there. Your bike is level. So in my driveway, my bike is just about level, meaning that if I even put any weight on this, I guess it'd be like the passenger side of a car, it's gonna fall right towards me. So it's about as level as I can get without it falling over. But you want to make sure that you have window showing up in that, you have oil showing up in that window down there, just to make sure that you have enough oil. So see you in a second. All right, caps off, caps off. Let's get this going. And for your convenience, you're gonna have to assume, I'm gonna assume you know how to put oil into a motor. So just make sure that you measure correctly and check often. So we're gonna get 2.5 of these in, see where the bike's at, warm it up, make sure everything's good to go, nothing's leaking, no pressure is making oil spill everywhere, and I'm spilling oil because I'm filming at the same time. So see you guys in a second. All right, so last bottle of oil, you can see I'm just under half full on that bottle right there. And you gotta be careful. I had made one of the cardinal rules is that I probably rushed the process. That window is now completely filled. I'm not worried about it overfilling my bike because it's only about I put like 2.6 quarts in there, so I'm not worried about it like being too full. But you really do want to watch that. Take your time when you're pouring your oil. You really want it between those two lines. So when I start doing highway riding, that's going to go down, not quickly, but it'll go down, within a month or so. So just want to make sure you take your time there. So what you do, next step is you're going to clean up the surface there. You're going to clean up the surface on the cap, and then you're going to tighten that up, and then we start the bike up, and I keep the oil pan underneath there until I know for a fact that no oil pressure is going to come out of here or on the bottom. If there's any leakage, then turn the bike off, and I'll clean that out, drain the oil, so we can reuse it later on if we need to. So So that's pretty much how you change oil in a KLR. All right, oil's changed. That vibrating you're hearing is the rally dash. No matter what I do, I can't get this to stop vibrating. Let this warm up, check for leaks. Other than that, put this camera around real quick. So yeah, that's it. That's how you change oil in a KLR. Pretty easy. If you have any questions, feel free to post in the comments. Appreciate the likes and the subscribes, and see you in a bit.